Happy Thursday and welcome back to our podcast conversation on prayer. As this week we lay a foundation for a new experience of growing in our relationship with the Lord through prayer. And this week we have been in Catechism, quote number 2567. Welcome back to our podcast conversation, as this week we are laying our foundation about prayer. And as we have laid that foundation on prayer, we have been in Catechism, quote number 2567. We have unpacked little nuggets of that throughout the week, and I want to bring us back to that again today, and I want to unpack a very encouraging aspect of what the church teaches us about prayer. So again, to quote number 2567 from the Catechism, God calls man first. Man may forget his Creator or hide far from his face. He may run after idols or accuse God of having abandoned him. But the living and true God tirelessly calls each person to that mysterious encounter known as prayer. In prayer, God's initiative of love always comes first. Our own first step is always a response. End quote. I love the description that prayer is a mysterious encounter. This week we have kind of just encouraged us that prayer is not us meditating on us or trying to get in touch with a sense of peace, or that prayer is it's the seesaw, right? Rather than the swing. It's a mysterious encounter. And there's something about the word encounter that speaks to my heart whenever I think about the reality of what prayer is. When you encounter someone, when you encounter something, there's an experience there, right? There's something memorable there. It enters into your life on its own terms. It reveals itself to you, and that's all that happens when we are in prayer. And I want to zero in on an aspect of that encounter that God enters into our life on His terms rather than merely on our terms. What the church teaches us about prayer is that prayer is not a projection of who we want God to be. Prayer is not a projection of who we think God is. Prayer is an encounter with God, who is, as many spiritual writers say, is totally other, right? He's independent of us. He reveals himself as he is rather than us projecting who we want God to be or think God needs to be. When we encounter God, we encounter another person who is revealing himself to us. The encouragement for us today is to know that that's the truth, even when we don't experience anything, when we don't hear anything, when we don't feel anything, when we don't sense anything is happening. Even when we feel in those moments that we are alone, we are still in the presence of God who wants us to encounter Him. That requires us to be patient. That requires us to not grasp. And sometimes the reason why we don't experience anything in prayer, at least in the early moments, is because maybe we don't know that we're grasping at a feeling or we're grasping at something, when in reality, what God desires is for us to be patient so that He can reveal Himself as He wishes to reveal Himself, rather than us grasping at something so that we can get something and then move on with our lives. Patience is often required in prayer if we are going to encounter God, because we don't encounter on our terms, we encounter on God's terms. And the patience teaches us not to grasp. The patience teaches us to receive what and when God wants us to receive. So be encouraged today that prayer is always an encounter and that God is always there with you. As we kind of wrap up the week tomorrow, we're going to talk about the response part of prayer, and then we'll kind of lay out a vision of where we're going to go on Saturday for the remainder of this particular podcast teaching. And as I did yesterday, I want to encourage you to read number 2567 from the Catechism and allow that to be your homework for the day. Looking forward to being with you tomorrow, and until we see each other tomorrow, let's be with the Lord today, and God bless you.